The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Everybody. Did you say you went to Penn State?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I go.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
You're there now? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be senior.
Oh, wow. I got season tickets.
Really?
I'll be there for the opener. I don't know which other games I'm going to this year, and I got to start selling these damn
I just
tickets.
come to Penn State.
Yeah.
It's there this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, well, the thing is, there's so few good games this year at home. They're
Yeah.
all away.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest game, of course, is Michigan.
Right.
And as much as I want to go to it, it's like my seats will sell for $280, $290 for that game.
Exactly.
So that's like
What game are you talking about?
Michigan, Penn
Penn
State.
State, that's the whiteout game.
I've got season tickets. I got 4 of them, and it's a lot of money. And they're this year is such a lousy schedule of home games. The really big game is Michigan, and I'm probably not going to go. I'll probably sell all 4. Then I'll get $1,200.
Yeah, my friend had
to help fund, because I'm going to lose. Like, I'm going to sell now. I got to go home now. My kid was going to go to the Buffalo game. Now he's not going to, so I got to sell that game. I'm probably going to sell those for like $25 a piece.
Yeah.
Even though I got great seats, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going for that much.
Yeah.
All the non-big games, you lose money on.
Definitely. My friend
So
had like the season like student tickets and everything, and everybody wants to go to the whiteout game. It's like so much fun. But he was like, I sold my student ticket for $350. Like, I wanted to go, but it wasn't really worth it if I knew I could make that much. Like, yeah.
$350, that's crazy.
It's insane. People will pay so much.
Yeah. Gosh,
Who is it against? Penn State is against, what's the whiteout game?
Michigan's the
I
big
got
one.
Michigan this year.
It's huge
But
anyway.
Pitt, now my kid owes somebody a favor,
Mhm.
and he was going to take him to a crappy game. And it's like, the guy got you in the World Series, man. Take him at least
Wow, take him to Pitt.
take him to the Pitt game, it's a rivalry, he'll love it.
When are they playing Pitt?
In like a month from today.
Penn State?
Penn State
Yeah.
got Penn State this year.
Wow.
They're playing at OU, or OU's coming to Pitt and playing there.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh, that's
And we
cool.
may beat them. We have a really good team.
I wonder if my brother will come home. My brother goes to OU. I wonder if he'll come. He might be.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he might be going into marketing. I wonder if you'll ever have him in a class. He's
Oh my gosh.
he's really considering it. Yeah.
Oh, he's a freshman now?
He was just a freshman last year. He's going to be a sophomore.
Oh, he's got to decide if he's going to get into business school.
Yeah, I know. He's working on it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're still on chapter 3, right?
No.
I think we just finished chapter 3.
Yeah. We're doing 4 now.
Okay.
The tools of commitment.
Okay. Lucy said we could be here by 8 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, that works for me.
They don't need me tomorrow anyway. They just said they got another speaker, so.
Oh, they don't?
Yeah, they got a speaker, so I'm good.
Okay. Well, do you want to, we can either meet it early and then Lucy, sorry, Lucy. Lucy can, we can start you off. I can leave at 9 or you can come in after, like at 10, whatever's easiest for you.
What would you like to do? It doesn't matter.
I don't care either way. Whatever's easier.
So we'd either go 8 to 9 and then take a break, you're saying? And
Well,
then,
you can continue while I'm,
We could stay on the recording.
you guys can stay on the recording while I take.
We could do that. We'll just kind of hash out as much as we can then.
Okay.
Okay. So
All right.
come at 9 tomorrow or
Yeah.
at 8. Yeah.
Mhm. And I'll get you guys all set up. Okay.
So now, the total commitment. Go back.
Got a Buckeye in there.
Yeah, it's my kid playing against them. Okay, so act with total commitment. So here's another important principle. Once you're totally committed to something, you keep working on it until you find the right method. Total commitment will generate the right method. Okay, and that's something I may need to credit someone then, because I know I got that from somewhere.
Well, we can play around with it. We don't have to say generate, right? We can produce. We can change the
We
word.
can reword that, or we can just look that up and see if we can find the original source. Either way.
Okay. So the bottom line is, you got to stay. And the funny thing, I say that, but like when the guy that I watched this for the first time, that kind of inspired me to do this, I was like, I sat in the audience like, dude, this is all Tony Robbins stuff. You know, he took Tony Robbins principles and moved, because that's what everybody does. They find something and then they make it.
Oh, but you just said that. Find
Yeah.
out what other people are doing and then
And make
copy
it your own, right?
Make it your own.
You know, but what they can't duplicate for me, you can say like the whole next section is all about my family and my kids and my stories.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So stay committed. These are the different now. The principle on this is, look, the reason most people fail is not always because they have the wrong skill level, you know, in the company, or they have the wrong people. Sometimes that's a factor, but a lot of times that has nothing to do with it. A lot of times the reason people fail, or companies fail, is because they lack commitment. They quit. You know, we have a saying in our country, you know, we say, when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and what I say in my speech is that's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And we are a nation of quitters. You know, when the going gets tough, we quit.
Mm-hmm.
We quit our marriages, and we quit our relationships, we quit our jobs. You know, and the truth is, if you want to achieve something that's big and breakthrough, you're going to have a lot of hurdles you're going to have to overcome, and you're going to have to be committed to it. So here's some of the principles. If you're going to be committed, you need to stop trying. So, you know, so what would you do, and how would you act if trying was not an option? And I use the example of, you know, trying. How many people have tried to lose weight, or you know someone who's tried to lose weight? And if they are always saying they're trying to lose weight and they don't, it's because what they're saying is, I'm not committed to losing weight. Because the truth is, it's pretty scientifically proven. You know, I don't care what system you're on, Atkins system or whoever's weight loss system is. It's really all about expending more energy and limiting your calories and your calories and fat. If you do that, you will lose weight, unless you're trying to lose weight. Because if you're trying to lose weight, what you're saying is, I'm trying to lose weight. Unless someone puts a big piece of chocolate cake in front of me, then I'm going to eat it. You know, you know, or unless someone's serving me an incredible, I'm out to dinner and the pasta looks fantastic, then I'm trying. I'm not committed. Right? It's all about being committed.
So wait, put that into a business sense. So stop trying in terms of in a business sense. So how do you translate that? I understand like the weight loss, but translate that into something that's business oriented.
Yeah, let's think. I was actually doing that. I was thinking about that earlier. So, and I was trying to remember what I thought of. I had a connection. So that's what I was trying to say. You know, failure on the part of a company often isn't sometimes it's because they didn't have the right people,
right,
or the right skills. But often it's just because they didn't have commitment. They quit on something that they had started out with, but they quit. They didn't stay committed to it. Now, if we can have some examples, if I can come up with some examples on that.
Yeah, that's key.
Right.
So
it's like.
When you say you stop trying, you know, I have people that tell me, Kelly, stay in your lane, just stay in your lane. And I say, well, if I stayed in my lane, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now.
Right.
You know, I mean, I had to break out of my lane to do what I'm doing now. So why would I stay in my lane? Let me just keep making new lanes.
Right.
So that was the commitment, and I'm just using this as an example. But what other?
Let me think. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to think of a couple things from my past too that I could say. Look, here's some examples of some of the companies that I worked with that would try things but would then quit really quickly and easily, and then eventually they got stuck on it.
The pizza place, they stopped doing they stopped your example. They were like, hey, we're just a pizza place, we're done. And
actually, that's a good example. I think, and I think it's fair to put in. You know, now I'm a stockholder.
Maybe use that story there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I'm a stockholder at Papa Murphy's, and we went through this and everything else, right? And I told them at that convention, if you fail, it's probably going to be because you're not going to be committed. What are you going to do when I leave? You know, what are you going to do? Are you going to stick with this? And they didn't. And now their stock prices went to 21. Now it's $5.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and they've got all new people in there working on it, right? But how committed really were they? From what I understand They tested a couple of the items in one market, 2 markets.
That means bleeding up
And,
here. I don't
oh,
know.
man, am I? Okay.
I don't know. Here, just wipe it on that. Or, I don't know what you did. You must have had
Geez, that's not even my bad spot. I got my nose here, and I got a pre-cancer. They're removing it completely this Friday.
Oh, really?
So
I thought maybe it was just this mosquito bite.
no, this is not. This is just must have been a mosquito bite that I got.
Oh, okay.
The nose, and then that was a panic because my brother had skin cancer, and not the easy, low level kind, but the middle that's more serious, and that's what this was transitioning to it.
Oh, okay.
So the good news is it's only transitioning. So they're
Good.
But I was doing a bunch of homework this week on where to go and who's going to do it. And
Are you going to Ohio State or?
I'm going. What I agreed to my kids, I'm going to let the guy locally just take it off because he's going to take it off, and I'm going to have a scar on my nose, and I don't care. It's all right. But then, I got more growths here, and I got other stuff happening. So I said, now I'm going to go to Ohio State, James Cancer, and I'm going to say, you guys check everything out, and I'm going to start a program where I go they say every year. I'm going to go every 6 months,
Yeah, whatever your insurance will let you do.
Oh, the hell with the insurance. I mean, think about it. Would you? If it cost me $300 to do a scan.
Is that all it does?
No, I don't think it
scan?
could. No, they don't even scan. They just literally look at your body.
Oh, you're talking about for skin cancer. Okay, yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go checked out. I do all this stuff.
Better add about 4 more zeros.
No, I do all this stuff to stay alive and stay in shape and everything. It's like I'm not gonna let something like skin cancer stop me. My God. All right. So what would you? So this whole idea of you can't just try. You got to keep going with something. You got to stay committed to it. So and I use this example in my presentation. It's a great story about my kids and my oldest son Ryan. This is a picture of him when he lived in Africa after he graduated. But when he was in he was in junior high school, middle school. He was a brilliant student, 4.2 GPA, and then he'd go home and read the Bible. And then his freshman year, he came home at the first semester with a 1.8. So we knew something's going on, something's wrong. And I said, and then the phone call started from police, and the first call comes in, Mr. Marchese, this is the Dublin police call, and, we got your son Ryan here. He was at a party. They had a lot of beer, and we think they had some drugs there. We saw Ryan running in the yard with a can. By the time we caught him, he didn't have the can. He says it was soda. We don't think so, And then another 2 weeks later or so, I get a phone call, Mr. Marchese, it's the Columbus police this time, and we've got your son Ryan here. He was with his friends. They were sneaking in the exit of the movie theater. I understand kids do pranks and all, but it was his attitude. He was so belligerent to us. He's really lucky this wasn't, this was another one of our partners or friends or whatever. He might be in a lot of trouble right now. And so this is going on, and I said, and then, I think it was, and then a couple of weeks later, I said, we got this wasn't even, I'm trying to think which one comes first, but we got another call from the police. And this was, it wasn't a call from the police. I said, my son Ryan came home at 9 o'clock on a Friday night. I said, what is he doing coming home at 9 o'clock on a Friday night? And he says, Dad, you want to play pool in the basement? Which I knew meant, do you want to talk? I got a problem. So we go downstairs and we talk, and he says, Dad, the police are on their way over here. I'm like, oh, great. So what's going on? He says, well,
Can you hide me underneath the pool?
Yeah, he's like, so well, we were off. We went to the high school and we had some hedge clippers and where it says Dublin and the hedges, near the high school. What were you? I don't even know what we were going to do, Dad. It was really dumb. And next thing you know, the police came on bicycles, and holy cow, everybody ran and I got away, but they caught Kenny and somebody else, and well, now the police are on their way over here, Dad, and I'm like, great. So, and not only, it wasn't bad enough that he got caught doing this, but it was on school property. He was going to get expelled. Instead, he got suspended, which destroyed his grades and everything, and had to do community service, and things are going really bad. I said, a couple weeks later, in fact, I came home from work one day, and TJ, my second kid, said, hey, Dad, Ryan, the competitive one, the one that the peeing thing, he said, Dad, I came home, when today Ryan was acting really weird. He was with Kenny and KC, and they were going in the woods behind the house, and they had a lighter and matches, and they had like a can, and they said they were going back there to meet a friend named Mary Jane. Right? So I said, so I don't know what he's talking about. I said, so I called my wife, Lori. You know, she's on a business trip in Pennsylvania. I said, Lori, do you know some girl named Mary Jane? Because Ryan was going in the woods with her and all this other stuff. And I seriously, I honest to God did not know anything. But she's like,
you were a product of the 60s.
Yeah. So she's like, you need to go take him to get tested right now. Tested? What are you talking about? She said, take him to an urgent care and have him drug test. I'm like, drugs? Really? She said, just do what I say, will you? So I went to pick him up. They weren't 16 yet. I picked them up at the mall. Him and his dumbass friend came. When I speak, I say his dumbass friend, Casey and Kenny, you know? And I pick him up, and I stop at the urgent care. And he's like, what are we doing here, Dad? Well, you're going to take a test. And his friends are looking at him, and he's looking at them. And it's like, don't wait, it's going to take a minute. You're going to pee in a cup. Don't worry about it. It's so simple. You know, and I said I drove him home, and you could just see he's pretty nervous. And then my wife comes home from her business trip, and she goes immediately to our computer, and she's starting playing around with the computer. And I'm like, well, she works for a computer company. You know? Right now she's a information systems professor. I said, well, what are you doing? She says, I'm bugging the computer. What do you mean? She said, this is back in the days of AOL, instant messaging. So the kids talked by a computer, right? So she said, we're going to bug this. It's $99, and tomorrow morning we're going to read out of everything that damn kid's doing and saying, and we're going to find out how bad this problem is. And you know, so sure enough, the next morning I got up and I started reading this document, and I am in tears. My wife and I are crying. It was bad. He was in a bad stuff. That dumbass Kenny, his brother, big brother, was the local drug dealer. They were getting in everything, and they were going in a really bad way. Now, at the same time I'm reading this, I get a phone call from the urgent care who says it's negative. The test actually came back negative, but he's walking down the stairs, Ryan, at that point. And I just looked right at him. I said, this is urgent care calling, man. It came back positive. You know, you're grounded. And we grounded him, and you know, at that point, we had to try and figure out this. What are we going to do? Because this thing's getting really bad right now. And we had to fix this because, you know, he's our kid. He's going to be, soon he'll be 18, and there's nothing I can do about it. And he's getting in all kinds of bad things. So, you know, trying was not an option. I was totally committed. So I took him to our minister, Chuck Cook. That didn't work. I took him to the associate minister, Heather, who was younger. That didn't work. So then I got in touch with a counselor. We took him to Barry the counselor. I spent thousands of dollars on Barry the counselor. None of that worked. So then we went to family counselor. That sucked. That was horrible. That was the worst thing in the world, family counseling. None of that worked. Then I read every single book ever written on ADHD. Nothing was working. And then one day I'm on a soccer field.
Does he have ADHD?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
that was the first time you brought it up, right? Did I?
No. And then I met friends of ours. We were talking about our kids, and my friend Bob Miller said, you know, my girls were acting up, and they went on this trip. And it was a summer camp, and they came back so nice. It was with this group named Young Life. I said, really? I found out that they had that camp coming up in 2 weeks. I signed them up. I never told them. I packed a bag, took them in a car, dropped them off at the high school. He's like, what are we doing here? And there's all buses. He said, you're going on a camp. It's going to be great. He was so mad and so angry and cursing at me. And he went on this camping trip, and I said, and he met some of the most wonderful kids on that trip who are still friends with. Josh Cooper and Katie Ankrum, you know, and all these other, and it didn't happen overnight, but eventually he moved away from that dumbass Casey and Kenny, and he moved to a nicer group of people, actually became part of that organization, wound up, you know, he used the negatives from his youth to take, you know, to motivate him. And he went to, after he graduated from college, wound up living in Africa for 3 years, taking care of orphans. Now he teaches inner city schools. Now he's in Denver teaching inner city school kids. And he's just a great kid. But trying wasn't an option. Do you understand? I had to find the right method. So I went out and just kept doing different. Well, what if you did that? What if Papa Murphy's did that and just kept doing different methods until they found one that was successful in expanding outside of the pizza and into something else, right? So you got to keep going. Just keep doing different methods. Don't quit.
Are your kids okay to be in the book?
You know, the only one that would have a problem would be him. So I'm going to have to talk to him about that story.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
you know, I think I'll write it up and say, are you going to be okay with this? You know, no one's going to actually read this, so relax. You know,
people will read it, but
They'll
I mean,
read it,
he
but
needs
yeah,
to be,
yeah, he
I don't
knows
want him to get jeopardized.
you know
for
what? No,
work or anything.
no,
like
no,
that,
no.
being teaching.
The only thing he would have a problem with it, and which I don't do anymore, when I would say that he was in the Christian organization, because now he's an atheist. So he's like, I don't want you telling anybody I was in that. Like, you know, yeah. So, not that he cares. He actually doesn't like saying he was a part of the Christian organization. My daughter, who I just was with, works for them.
Really?
You know, that's her. She works for them on staff. Just it's unbelievable where your kids go. You have no idea. Like, what the hell? What happened?
Yeah,
they're
all so different.
I got one who's an atheist, one who's going to probably be a minister, for God's sake. So,
Maybe
you know.
the minister will help the atheist bring
Jeez,
you back.
I don't know, man. So then the second principle of staying committed is if you stay committed, you know, you've got to not be afraid to fail. You know, my favorite basketball player ever was Michael Jordan. I loved watching Michael Jordan, big fan of the Bulls. Listen to what Michael Jordan has to say about failure, and then I play this video where he talks about he took the game-winning shot 26 times.
I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. That is why.
And then I asked
Wait, I didn't see the rest of that. Go back. I never saw that before. Have you seen that before?
I think I watched
he
it in
just
one of
says
my
at the end,
classes.
that's why I succeed.
Oh, that's why I succeed. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So I say, how many times did he take the game-winning shot? Everybody says 26. Do we care? No one cares about the fact that he missed 26 game-winning shots. Everyone cares about the 6 championship rings. That's what 6 times in a row he won the championship. They remember the shots he made. That's the way life is. People remember you for the success you had, right? You know, I tell the story about Brett Favre. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. That he set the record for touchdown passes, and then 6 years later, or no, you know, but there was another record that he held that he actually got that record 3 years before the touchdown record, and that was the most interceptions. But no one remembers him or cares about that. They remember him as a gunslinger throwing touchdown passes, you know? So people will remember you for what you succeed with, and it is okay to fail. Now, I could throw a bunch of more examples of all the books are written of all the failures, like Dave Thomas and,
well, yeah, I would love
love
more business examples.
So I would add an example. You know, I worked with Dave Thomas from Wendy's, and you know, before Dave Thomas became the tremendous success he was, you know, he had other businesses that failed. I don't know. I'd have to look that up in his book to see what his failure was. But I'll try and find things that are pertinent to me and my career, or people who say, I'll talk about myself. A lot of people think, you know, well, I succeeded, like my students, that, wow, you had a great career. It's like, well, let me tell you the things that I failed at. You know?
What did you fail at?
So. Well, I mean, you know, I lost several jobs. You know, I don't know if you call that a failure, but, you know, I lost my job at Bob Evans, you know, because I couldn't get along with the CEO, who's an asshole. I lost my job at KFC, you know, because they brought in a new president who had a different vision of who we wanted on his team, you know.
Well, those aren't necessarily failures.
They're not necessarily failures.
But did you have
I lots of products that failed.
Yeah, product failure, or
right.
You know, system failure, or something that you tried to implement.
So actually, that would be a good one. I could talk about, you know, here's in fact, I do a lot of talking. I teach a class in new product development. I think I mentioned that in there, and I talk about, now in that we talk about some of the tremendous successes that I had at Elmer's and at Bob Evans. But, you know, I had many more failures than I ever had successes, you know, like the pasta idea, you know, for Papa Murphy's.
Well, they didn't implement that.
Well, they didn't implement it, but
so
it's
that's
a failure.
Not a failure. It wasn't your fault. So what?
Fresh pan pizza. I don't know why that failed.
Fresh pan pizza failed?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why the hell it failed. We tested and it exceeded. It didn't fail, but it didn't work.
So people
you know?
didn't take it home. They didn't want to take it home.
No, they didn't.
Pizza?
Right. Elmer's tape. You know, not gonna find it anywhere. You know, it didn't work.
What is Elmer's tape?
Like, you know, 3M tape, just Elmer's tape. You know,
Oh, interesting.
a product named Glop, which is my favorite failure. It won Toy of the Year, but couldn't get distribution on it, and it failed. It was
I
making
remember Glop.
slime making, you know, before it was. Now it's the big rage. Well,
yeah,
I probably talked about that. You know, the truth is, no one's gonna, you know, it. I haven't. As long as you have, you know, people aren't going to remember you for the failures. They're going to remember you for the success.
Why do you think Glop didn't work? Do you think it was because
that was that? I do a whole class. I do a class on that. Well, no, it was because it was we came out too late into the marketplace, and Nickelodeon came out with an inferior product that you didn't make yourself. Sold it to everyone, got it in distribution everywhere. People bought it and thought, well, this is no fun. Our product was make your own by yourself, and it made farting noises when it was in the jar. But, you know, that's why it failed.
Yeah.
Baby Ruth bars, ice cream bars, that was a failure. I thought they were great.
Baby Ruth ice cream bars?
Yeah.
At Hershey's?
At Nestle.
At Nestle.
Yeah.
That sounds really good right now.
Yeah.
The Dream Designer, the girls' kit that I developed, which was a fabulous product, and it failed because they, you know, I left the company at that point, and they put it in the toy section, or they didn't. I wanted it in the toy section. They put it in the
For arts and crafts.
craft section. You know. So, but it's okay. You gotta keep going until you get something. That
Well,
you
see,
win at.
I would like you to, you know, maybe what you can do then is, because these are all great examples.
Right.
These should all be in the book.
Right.
So maybe what you do, and if you can write this down so as a reminder, but maybe write the stories up and then send them to I'll give you, you know, you can send them to me and I'll pass them on to Lucy.
Okay.
So that Lucy can have them. But just the details that went on with those stories. Well, those would be helpful, right, Lucy?
Yeah.
I mean, even if you do, like, I love the idea of the Baby Ruth ice cream bar. If you talk about, here, take a plate because they get messy. If you talk about, you know, the inception of the idea, why you felt that, you know, it would go to market, what the testing was like. I mean, let it be. That could be, you know, 2 or 3 pages.
It's not a marketing book. You know what I mean? So I have to be careful
know.
with that, because if it was a marketing book, I'd do a lot more.
No, I know, but I think the story.
Because I could do that. I could write a great marketing book.
I think that because we're talking about failure, I think that there has to be. It's great that you talk about Dave Thomas. It's great that you talk about, you know, some of the other people, but you're the author of the book.
Right.
You know, people have to understand that you're a human being.
I got a lot of failure. I'll get them in there.
Yeah, I would do.
Yeah.
About one of those.
Right.
Whatever
I
one
would
you
do
have
2 or
the most
3 of them.
in-depth, but I was just thinking, like, it could, like, kind of hit hard if you do, like, one story and really expand on it, and then just have kind of, like, a list and be like, the same thing happened with Dream Designer, the same thing happened with Elmer's Glove, the same thing happened with Baby Ruth ice cream bars. Like, if
Right.
it was
Yeah.
that kind of thing, and you just sort of
Or similar things happen with
you
these
could
products
see, like, there's a sort of a list of these things that, like, didn't work, but
too.
you know, I don't know if, like, every story would have to be totally, like, laid out the entire way, but I think having one story really expanded on and then kind of listing afterwards, like,
Right.
to really show the extent of.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, whatever one you feel is best suited, but the thing with any book, the more detail you have, the bigger people are going to walk away with all the storytelling. Okay, so the stories that you have is what people are going to remember.
Right.
They're not going to remember the gibberish in between,
Right.
even though the gibberish is you with your expertise.
Right.
They'll remember the
Story
lesson
of it,
that they
right.
learned from the
Right.
story.
From the story. Right.
So and people will take that away, and that's what they're going to resonate with, because that's just how we are. That's how we're wired. We're
Right.
wired to remember the story.
Right.
So we have to be very cognizant of that and
Okay.
make sure that the more storytelling we have, the more valuable the book is going to be for you.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Sounds good. So this next principle, I say, if you're totally committed to something, you have to make everyone lead something. Everyone in your organization can lead. And then I talk about how that everything I learned about leadership You know, it wasn't from my MBA program or training programs that I got. Really, I think the best leadership experience I got was coaching my kids' teams. And I say I coached everything from, you know, basketball to coaches pits baseball and t-ball baseball to soccer that I coached one year when I didn't even know the rules. And I tell my very favorite coaching was third grade basketball in the Dublin Youth Association. It was first year coaching, and in third grade they actually they had a blind draft. You didn't get to pick the kids. In other years, the coaches all picked who they wanted. In third grade, they literally had all the names in a little shoe box, and you picked them out. And the first day you showed up to practice and you saw who you had. And I this is a great story. Everybody loves this one, but I tell them a story about how, you know, my first day.
Did you have your own son on the team at least?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I said my first
trying to get to do practices.
First practice, the kids show up, and the first kid who walks in the door is Big James Montgomery. Now, when I do the speech, I can never find a picture of that team. I looked and I can't find one, so I show this other team, and they think it's this kid, so who's goofy. So it all works. No one gets it, you know. I said, Big James, biggest kid in all of third grade. I said, this kid was so big, you know, he had facial hair. He was in third grade, you know, and it was just. I said, except for then, once he started practice, and I said, it was like, oh my God, he was terrible. He ran like Bambi, the deer, you know. And I said, but that's okay. The second, then in comes Big Matt Hernandez, second biggest kid in third grade. And I'm like, all right, come on, Matt. But you see, Matt had a problem. Every time Matt would fall on the ground in a game, he'd start to cry. His mother would come down to get him. We'd have to take him out of the game. The league had a stupid rule that you couldn't, once you took someone out of a quarter, you couldn't put him back in. I said, that kid was worthless to me, right? So I said, so I had a whole team, but I had no one who was a leader. And then this is about the favorite video. Everyone goes crazy over this one. You know, I have people years later talk to me about my video. So then after that, I said, I tell you what I did. I'll show you. Well, first I show this video. I said, here's a picture of what a team looks like without a leader. Oh, here. All right. Get rid of that.
See, Lucy?
Yeah.
That's my son, Ryan. Watch the line. Watch the line, Ryan. That's Big James. Thanks a lot, Big James, right? You know, this is Ryan again. You can hear my wife saying, you can't do that, Ryan. No, you can't, man. So the speech, I said, everybody's laughing. I said, you're all laughing. I said, I'm 0-9. How do you feel? It's a 10-game season. We haven't won a game. It's halftime. I said, we're down 5 points. I'll tell you what I did. I got TJ, my competitive kid. He was the smallest kid. He had a growth hormone problem. The smallest kid in all of first grade. This was a third grade league. I said, TJ, I don't care. I need a leader. We're down 5 points. Do something for me. And this is what happened.
I can't believe you had this recorded.
This was done by Wendy's professionally years ago. They took all my things, spliced it together, and I did a speech on leadership at the time. And I said, look how excited. I was Big James with his hands in the air. We finally won a game. I said, he was so excited he peed his pants. And then I told him, I said, I peed my pants. But I said, what did I learn from this teaching that? As I learned that anyone can be a leader. It doesn't matter how tall you are, how short you are. It doesn't matter how big you are or small you are. It doesn't matter what your title is. If you are totally committed to something, everyone can and should lead. Then I tell this, I tell the story. I said, about how I when I was at Bob Evans, I gave a presentation like this at a university there. I don't want to say Ohio State anymore since they're the bad guys. At a university, and I was so impressed by the students there that I did something we had never done before. We had never hired an undergraduate into our marketing department. I hired 3 undergraduates from that class into my marketing department, and they were amazing. Jenna went to work on our kids meal program. We had a whole kids night program, Kids Eat Free on Tuesday nights and family night, and did a fantastic job. Another girl did a great job on our soup to go and our carry out program, growing that business. And the other girl went to work on our social media, which we were not, we were just getting started on. Oh my God, she did a fantastic job. And they all took something and they led it, and and that's what you need to do. If you're a manager, you need to get people from your organization. If you're committed to something, think about if you had a whole team full of people who are taking on something and leading it. Whatever. If you're here and you're an associate manager or whatever it is, what is it that you can pick out and that you can just run with and lead, because there's something there. And if you're committed, you need everyone to be a leader. Okay. Then keep going to the one thing. So then I kind of talk about the other lesson is in life, sometimes you got to keep moving forward. You're going to get hit with a lot of adversity. In my speech, I asked, who else has seen all 8 Rocky movies, besides me? And there's always some.
I have.
And I said, I've seen them all. I said, and my favorite is Rocky 6. Rocky, they call it Rocky Balboa. Rocky's an old guy like me, like 60 years old, and he's trying to make a comeback. He just wants to fight one more time, and his kid's not happy with him. His kid says, he's been in his shadow. His kid uses him as an excuse for why the kid hasn't been as successful, and you're going to embarrass me. And this is a great inspirational scene between Rocky and his kid.
Right here. I'd hold you up, say to your mother, this kid's going to be the best kid in the world. This kid's going to be somebody better than anybody ever knew. Wonderful. Great to watch every day. Time come for you to be your old man, take on the world. But somewhere along the line, change. Stop being you. And people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for blame. You're a big shadow. Take yourself to your art, Oh, they ain't all sunshine and rainbows. Very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. To nobody is going to hit it in life. It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hit. And not pointing fingers saying, think what you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. What happens? Life's gonna be the best thing. Start believing it.
So, the point, there's a bunch of points in this. I said, but to me, it's not how hard you can hit that counts. It's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done, right? That's what life's about. If you think your career is going to go up and, or you think every project you run is going to be successful, good luck. And, I'll talk sometimes about the failures or the tough times I had when I lost my job at Bob Evans, and then 3 months later my wife lost her job because they sold the company. What are you going to do? Well, you know what you got to do. You got to keep moving forward. That's how winning's done. And I tell a story about TJ, my son. The competitive one, the one that was the kicker, and that one that you just saw playing basketball. Well, that little kid, he actually grew up. He had a growth hormone problem. We started giving him growth hormones as a freshman in college. Freshman in high school, and he grew 13 inches in about a year and a half.
Oh my gosh.
And he went from being the smallest kid to a pretty, decent sized kid. And I think it was his sophomore year, he came to me and he said, Dad, he was a soccer player, very competitive on the Olympic development team, soccer and everything. And he said, Dad, I'd like to try kicking some field goals. He had never kicked a ball in his life. I never let him play football because he was too small. It was the one sport I would not let him play because he was just too small and he would have got killed out there. Mm-hmm. But he said, can we just go out to the field and hold the ball, and I just want to kick some field goals. And I went out to the field with him, and he made field goals from the 10-yard line, then from the 20, then from the 30, then from the 40, and all the way I went to we kept going back, and then he made one at the 48.
Wow.
And I said, I couldn't believe this. I went home and I called my nephew Tommy, who was a high school coach in Michigan. I said, Tommy, if you're making a field goal from the 48-yard line, is that a 48-yard field goal or a 58? He's like, Uncle Tom, that's a 58-yard field goal. The world record's like 63 yards for the pros at the time.
Wow.
And I said, wow. And I told my next door neighbor about it. His kid was on the football team at Dublin Coffin, one of the best programs in the country. And his son, the father called the coach, told the high school coach about my son, and then I got a call the next day. It was like about 5:00, and I get a call at work before I leave. This is Mark Crabtree, coach of Dublin Kaufman High School. I'm standing at 50-yard line with your son. I heard about him. I got a bunch of football players, and they were intimidating the heck out of him, calling a foot fairy and everything else. And he stood there, and he just made field goal after field goal, including 3 50-yarders. I said, your son is a Division I kicker. I was like, my kid? He's like a little shit. He's like 130 pounds, and he said he's got this thing called a fast leg. So I immediately, the long version of the story, I don't tell this long a version of a story in the presentation, we actually, I entered some contests quickly. I found out about some contests. He became the 8th ranked kicker in the country.
My God.
And then again, the long version of the story is he wound up going to it was going to be his junior year, and he was going to be the starting kicker at this great high school. And then I got the job at Kentucky Fried Chicken, and we were moving to Louisville, and we moved to Louisville, didn't get all the paperwork done in time. So he wound up playing on the soccer team there, but just was like, and didn't really played a little bit of football, and that was it. Never got to kick a field goal or anything. And then we realized for his senior year he had to move back to Kaufman if he wanted to get some attention and keep his ranking. So we actually moved him back. We were process of moving back. I was moving back to it with a job. And I got a call from him 2 days before the first game that he said they told me broke his hip. He actually twisted the tissue, tore it off of his bone, and he broke the growth plate on his hip. He spent 8 to 10 weeks in intensive therapy, coming home, and he'd come home from the therapy, and every night I'd buy 4 bags of ice, big giant bags of ice, put it in the bathtub, and he'd lay there trying to get the inflammation out. By the time he got back on the field, the second kicker never had missed. Went on to become a great kicker, played for Ohio State.
Wow.
But TJ, he got to kick, I think, 2 kickoffs. That was it at the end of the year.
Wow.
And no colleges wanted him. But this is the long version. Eventually, he got lucky that summer, and the all-star kicker couldn't make it to the game. And the day before the game, they called the Dublin Coughlin coach asking if he knew a senior who was a kicker, and he said, "Look, I got a kid who's fantastic who just had bad luck." And he wound up the kicker in that game, and through that got noticed. And University of Akron coach called me up. He literally called me and said, "I want your son. I'm going to give him a full scholarship the day." I don't have any yet, but I can give it to him the day that the season ends, And wow, that was like, we got the call on August 15th. The first game was like 2 weeks later. He redshirted that year. Everything was great. And then the coach lost his job, So there was no scholarship. By the time he's ready to play his third year, the new coach brought in 2 scholarship kids. So now he's got it. But he beat them out, and he was going to be the starting kicker. And then he called me one day, and he was just in absolute tears and crying. He said, "It's over, Dad. It's over." He was sobbing, and he said, "It's over." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I missed 2 kicks in overtime in the scrimmage. I was 6 for 8. I made 6 in a row, and then I missed those 2." I said, "Well, it's not that bad." The coach says I'm a choker. He put me to 3rd team. I went from 1st to 3rd. He says, he said, "I'm done." I said, and I listened to all this, and then I sent him this clip from Rocky, and I told him the whole deal about it. It's not how hard you get it. How are you that keep going on? I said, stop making excuses. That's not you. Stop explaining about the coach doesn't like you, the 2 kids are on scholarship, so they got the wind was bad, the holder did this. Just go in there and don't miss anymore. The next 2 weeks, just freaking don't miss. Pressure's on them. And you know what? He went back, and I watched him, man. They had a scrimmage the next Saturday. He went 5 for 5. It was perfect. The other kids were missing. And he didn't miss the rest of the season. And then the day before the first game, here he is. He got the call. Said, TJ, you're starting tomorrow against Ohio State. And the first time he ever got to play in a real game in his life and kick a field goal was in front of 110,000 people on national television on ESPN.
Wow.
Right? So, if you're totally committed, you keep moving forward when life hits you hard, and I know, and you look to what good can come out of this. So it's a fun story, and people usually realize that, yeah, that's what I got to do. Because a lot of people at this point, it turns more from a company into their own personal life. You know what I mean? And man, and I get people years later saying they remember that, and
I'm telling you, it's all about the storytelling.
And that's what I do. I tell stories. And I said, now, if you're really going to be totally committed to something, you better get yourself a coach, because you're going to go through tough times. And then I tell the truth about myself, that I had terrible anxiety in my career. A lot of people look at me and thought, oh, you must have been really, what a great career. I said, you know what? I had such anxiety attacks. I had depression that was so bad. I was one of the first people in the damn country who ever took Prozac. I remember that. It's like, this is this experimental drug. I said, I don't know why. I was succeeding. I was doing a lot of things, but I couldn't help it. The pressure, every time I moved somewhere new, I'd be so scared, and then I met this guy, Jim Fortier. He hired me at the Drackett Company, and then later he hired me at Nestle, and he was my boss. But we became much more than a boss to me. He became a close friend, and I consider him, a brother. But what Jim always did was he was just always there for me when I did lose a couple of jobs and bad things would happen, or when I'd be starting a new job, I'd call Jim and he would talk me off the ledge. Hey, I know you're nervous about this. Remember? Yeah. Boy, I remember that phone call when you got that job at KFC, and you were really nervous about that. What was that award you won there then within that first year and I tell you, it was the Chairman's Award. Yeah, that's right, the Chairman's Award thing. And what was the one you won at Elmer's that first year there? That was the Chairman's Award. And he just had this ability to calm me and to get me through those difficult times. I said, now, if you're going to be totally committed, or, you need to have coaches. You need to be a coach. Understand that there are people in your organization who you may not know who go home at night and are having anxiety attacks. And know that you need to be there for them. You need to be coaches. And then find people like this if you're committed. And Jim is still my coach. I tell him he's got ALS. Probably his last year, But whenever we talk, I could show you my text right now about my cancer thing. It's never about him. It's about me and what can I do for you? How can I help it? So, but find people, surround yourself with people like that. So then this is, if you're totally committed to something, use this tool. It's a great tool. It's called a second set tool. And I played college tennis, and tennis is an amazing thing. You see it all the time. Somebody loses the first set 6-0, then they win the second set 6-0. How the hell did that happen? What happens after the first set that they change? What do they change? And people figure it out pretty well. Their mindset. I said, yeah, you figure out that it's about changing your mindset. Thank God I used to be there. I can remember thinking, oh my God, thank God that's over. Now I can really focus. Well, that works in everything. It doesn't just work in tennis. It works in other sports as well. And by the way, it works in business. So, and I tell the story about when I went to work for Bob Evans. And I had so many ideas for that business. And I went in there with all kinds of changes I wanted to make on their process improvement, and how we're going to generate more sales through the carry-out program and all this stuff we're going to do. And right at the same time I came in with all these ideas, I was the vice president of the product marketing, the food, but I had a counterpart who was the vice president of culinary. He was in charge of the chefs and the R&D, and he died. He got cancer, and literally died within 1 month.
Oh my gosh,
it was I forget, not prostate, the other one that goes quickly. pancreatic cancer. He died within a month. I said, his team was shattered, and the morale was so low. And I gathered, and I know they were mad at me.
Wow.
So because I was making all these changes.
Oh.
So I gathered them into a conference room, and we called it a second set meeting. And I'll never forget that meeting because a couple of people cried in that meeting. We talked about, Merle and bad stuff that had happened. But they also talked about the stuff that they liked about what I was doing, but how I came there and I didn't listen to them. I just I wanted to change everything before I understood the way they did things, and they were right. And I've seen people do it now. I see people doing it now and think, oh man, I know what you're doing. I did that. Don't do that.
So you didn't do, the one thing that you did before was observe.
Right.
And you didn't do
but I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I bypassed that and I just jumped right in. So we were in a bad place, but we talked it through and we said, okay, this set is over. Now we have a better understanding of each other, what we want to do, how we want to work. Let's go on to our next set. And I will tell you it really was the best team I ever worked with, was that team, that innovation. We did outstanding things together, And it's a great tool. Think about your business. If you're going through a difficult time with a team or a staff or a project, if you can just call a set and change the whole mindset and move on to the second. Think about if you could do it in your relationship. Oh my God, you'd probably save a whole bunch of relationships if you could just say, okay, that's over. That sucked. Let's move on to the next one. So that's the idea of a second set. And then this one I added because I can't stand the damn kids who don't want to. They think they're going to be vice presidents when they get out of school. So if you're committed to something, you need to do a great job with all the things you don't like to do. And then I say, what is this place? And, they all figure out that it's a Chipotle. So you like it, right? Because you get to pick what do you pick? You pick your protein, you pick your bowl. I was there today. You pick the bowl, you pick the salsa. Well, I'll tell you what, a lot of restaurants are like this now, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys like that. But you know what? Life's not like, work's not like Chipotle. You do what the hell the boss tells you what to do, and you don't pick and choose what you get to do. You do a great job at everything. Learn that now, and you're going to be tremendously successful. So, and I tell the story about Matt, the intern at Papa Murphy's. Matt, my intern, I hired the kid into my innovation team, and at Papa Murphy's, when I wanted to show them the fresh Italian kitchen, and we had all these chefs from around the country come in, and we made all these great items to show we showed it to our top 10 franchisees and our leadership team. Matt's job was to take pictures of everything, so then I could take those pictures on the road with me and do a road show to sell the other franchisees and get them excited. Well, we were so excited at the end of this thing, and I said, well, Matt, where's the pictures? And he was like, oh, I don't have any pictures, Tom. You don't have any pictures? What happened? He said, well, the camera broke. Camera broke. Well, you didn't look for another camera, or well, you didn't find another one or do something. And he's like, well, you know what, Tom? I didn't come here to be a photographer. I said, well, Matt the intern did not get a job. An opening came up, and he didn't get a job. Because you got to do a great job with everything you get. And I said, I'm telling you that, but I've erred in my own career on this. And I tell them about how I didn't like finance. I didn't like the numbers. I didn't like the budgets. I hated that part of it. And when it came time, I got to this level where if I want to move on to the next level, which should be be a president of the company, I had to show and demonstrate that I was good at that. But I never did that piece because I said I didn't like it. And the other part was, I forgot to mention that when I use that when I do the Rocky speech. I said, you've got to stop making excuses. We all make excuses. That's what he tells his kid about, like my kid was doing about the kicker or whatever. I said, I did it too. For my whole life, career, I made an excuse that I wasn't good at numbers and finances. You know what it meant? It meant I didn't like doing that because I got an MBA with almost a 4.0. I got A's in my 4 quantitative business. The truth is I just didn't like it. I could have went and got a financial, the University of Chicago to their executive finance program or done something like that. But I didn't like it that much. And so I made excuses that I wasn't good at it. And that's what prohibited me from making it to the next level up of being a president or CEO of a company, So then this is my brother Joe. My two brothers are much older than me. One's 17 years older, one's 15. This one's 15 years older than me. And, when your brothers are that much older than you, they're your heroes. And this is my brother with his wife, Joyce, who was his high school sweetheart, who had married, literally right out of college. And they had 3 beautiful kids together. I said, but he called me when he was 52 years old. He was only 52 years old when I got the phone call from him, and I heard my brother cry for the first time, sobbing hysterically. And he said, and he told me that I tell the story about when he told me about Joyce, who was having a hard time driving home from work, would forget where she was, forgot how to use the equipment at her work and everything, and it turned out she had early Alzheimer's. She was 50 years old. And, I said, he cried, I cried. The next day we talked. I said, what are you going to do? And he said, you know what? I got one thing in this that I can control. I can't control anything except for my attitude. And I'm going to keep my attitude strong because that's going to help Joyce. It's going to help me. It's going to help my kids by seeing me. And because it's all I got. And that's what I got to do. I'm going to control my attitude. And I said, and I watched my brother. That was the last day he cried, man. And every day, he didn't have to do it. I said, I've never watched that movie, The Notebook. People tell me it would be too emotional for me to watch it. But I said, my brother, this Alzheimer's doesn't go quick when it's early. It went 18 years. Many years at home with her taken care of, but then I think it was at least 10 years in a facility where he didn't have to, but he would get up, and I went with him. Here he is at the facility. He'd go there, and he'd chop grapes into tiny pieces and put them in her mouth. He'd get apple juice. Some of it would pour in, some of it out, and he didn't have to do any of that, but that's total commitment, man. Yeah. Focusing, controlling your attitude, and eventually she passed away, and he celebrated his life and just kind of keeps moving forward. And that's all you get to control. So when I lost my job at Bob Evans, and my wife lost hers, I was like, you know what? He can control his attitude through that. I can control my attitude because that's all I can. So I focused instead. I think I did a pretty good job with it. I just said, well, what good can come out of this? What would I really love to do? And that's when I actually had my first meeting with the dean at Ohio University, and told him about this desire I've always had to teach. And it didn't happen overnight, but it happened 2 years later. And then I've loved what I'm doing. But, I kept telling myself what good can come out of this. I got to control this attitude. So if you're totally committed, that's what you do. Then I said I used to finish my presentation and everything there, and then my daughter saw it. She was really pissed at me. Let me get this right, Ryan saved the world in Africa and all that. TJ's the most competitive athlete in the world. Brett's the most creative person, and Jenna draws the sucky drawing, right? That's all I can do, Dad, right? And she says, and this is true, actually. She saw it. She was like, Dad, she said that you people, you big thinkers, you and Ryan and TJ and Brett and everything, you can't get anything done without people like me and Mom. I said, that's the truth, because you see, she's a planner. And I tell the story about how the only time I've ever made her cry, it was, I think it was, first year in high school. And it was 12 o'clock midnight, and she was working on homework. And I saw her up at midnight. I'm like, why are you up at midnight doing this? You're not gonna be any good tomorrow. You should have done it in advance. You should have done it. You're gonna be terrible tomorrow because you're up so late. And the tears were strolling down her eyes, and she just looked at me. She said, actually, Dad, this isn't due for 2 weeks. But, she said, I have a science test Thursday and a math test on Tuesday, and then I have a soccer tournament on the weekend, and I really want to go to Whitney's birthday party. So I thought I'd get this done now. And I said, oh, boy, did I feel bad. And I've never, ever said anything to her again, because she is a great planner and a detailed person. And that's important as well. You've got to have that if you're going to be successful. You got to be able to execute with focus and teamwork. So when I do my presentation, I said, well, so I don't have time to get into that. How do you do that? I said, so therefore, I will give you some piece of advice here, and that advice is, let's say you're like me. You're not good at, you're good at the big picture stuff, but not good at the details. Do what I did and marry a project management professional. I don't know. If it's too late, if you're already, maybe you're dating someone or you married someone far less useful, like a doctor or a lawyer, I said, then surround yourself with people who are different than you. And then I give them examples of how I've done that, throughout my career as well. And that's the way I finish it. Now, when we do this together with my wife, that's the small details. So I get into kind of like execute. So I would probably do another little section on that, execute with teamwork. We do a couple of I don't know how they translate to a book, but we do some exercises.
You can put exercises in the back of the book, can't you?
Mhm. That could be really cool.
Yeah, that actually would be cool. Put a couple of exercises she has.
Yeah.
And
Are they? Do you guys own them? Are they proprietary?
I don't know. I'll ask her.
Yeah, because
She teaches them in classrooms.
well, we
stuff,
just
and
have to
use
make
them
sure
in
that we get credit and that we get
we
permission.
use them in the training. What's the name of that presentation that we just did? Let me see. Here. So I think for that, I would probably here's when I do this for, like, I have a bunch of Brazilians who come in twice a year till you, and we do it. I do it with her for 4 hours of training. And I do the whole thing, and then finish with that, and I say, okay, so if you want to win, you also have to have a great culture, process, and execution. Talk about building a great project team, and here's the execution with focus and teamwork. 3 things, simple. If you want to be simple, you got to collaborate like a kindergarten. You got to stop multitasking and communication. You got to prioritize and communicate.
So
and then,
we should
actually,
probably...
I can definitely do this. So to collaborate like a kindergartner, we actually do
Wait,
the marshmallow.
go back to it. So execute and with focus and teamwork. The first one is collaborate.
Like a kindergartner.
Okay.
And then stop multitasking and focus. And prioritize and communicate.
You talk faster than I can write.
That's right.
Prioritizing. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
So then we go through an exercise of this, just a fun. That's not proprietary. It's on.
Did that in school?
In school. Marshmallow challenge and stuff, So where they have to build a structure with marshmallows. And the key learning is that.
And is it with straws?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the key learning is that the people who do it best are not CEOs and stuff. It's like literally kindergartners outperform.
Uh-huh.
Because they very quickly, they're not worried about who's in charge or any of that stuff. They're just trying to win. Then she's got other things that she does in this that are simple. Why do they do it? Because diverse skills matter. We'd have to cite. We did that, some of the stuff about how and why they win. And then about stop on multitasking and focusing. I don't know where she got these project management exercises. About the importance of focusing and why. And then this is something I do then which is about how do you prioritize. And I talk about prioritizing a portfolio of ideas. I got charts and stuff that I do. That would be a little more technical with some charts and stuff and how to prioritize.
Well, you can still put charts in the book, right?
Yeah, they would be good for that. I'd have to figure out, how I put that in there from Elmer's and Papa Murphy, so I don't know what I can put in, but
Yeah. You have to see.
So.
And that when you get the first, as the book is being written, forward it over to you, you could say, I want to insert this graph here,
right.
But I would definitely use.
Yeah, I think that would work.
Graphs and pictures if you can.
Yeah, that would work. And I'll talk to her about this other piece there. How do we expand that? So,
okay.
So I got a lot of stuff in there, and there's a lot of stuff that I could expand on. It's like if I need it, it's like, oh, well, maybe I'll add the whole Gourmet Delight story and put that in this piece. What I mean?
Is that story?
That's just about how we turned around this brand by thinking differently. So So I have more examples of like that's actually a huge success thing. That was really good. I should put that in there.
Well, what
in
is the
book.
story?
Absolutely. It's how we here, I'll show it to you.
Gourmet, is that a creamer, coffee creamer?
No, it's a pizza product. Pizza.
Oh.
Actually, I should definitely get at that in the think differently section. Or it's maybe here's a great example of it in action. You know, of the whole process in action. Something that I would put at the end.
Well, yeah, you could do at the very end of the book. You could take a product through, like a fictitious product, through the whole.
Well, I think a great one. The two great examples are the Bob Evans one, and then this Papa Murphy's is a really good example one. But it was a product called Delight Pizza.
Okay.
And I have a whole freaking, where the hell, here it is. Here's one. I think this is it without the videos. Yeah, this is the presentation without the videos. I do this. These are just from normal classes, not something I do on the outside, but talk about successful products and why different ones fail. The process for products. Come from, that's a transfer thing, idea, stage gate. Yeah, see, I remember I was telling you about there's other ways you can, other categories I have that you do, I do it with. All about how you test ideas, really, for this. All right, I don't have my light pizza. Oh, that's in positioning. Different chapter.
I don't think we're going to like material, do you?
Absolutely not.
I think we're
I think the Gourmet Delight one is really good. I think I'll sneak that in.
Well, just tell us the story.
Where the hell is it?
Don't you remember the story?
Here. Okay. This is what I do. And now I took this to personal branding, which could be another really cool little book, that's the presentation I'm doing tomorrow night for the first time, kind of I've done it in classes. I've never done it in front of like 300 people type thing, which I'm doing tomorrow. But it's about positioning. So I teach them about how you do positioning. And I talk about here, this is the product we had when I first came to the company. The boss told me about this product named Delight, a thin crust pizza. The CEO said, nobody else has anything like this. It's low in calories and fat, and we're not making it a big enough deal about it. I think you should make a bigger deal about how low in calorie it is. And I said, well, that's great. Can I do some research first? So the first part I did was we said, let's set a big breakthrough goal. Big breakthrough goal is we're going to make the reintroduction of Delight Pizza even bigger than the introduction. That's the emotion, right? The inspirational word picture goal. Got it?
Right.
So now once we did that, well, you gotta seek knowledge. So one of the things we did to seek knowledge on it is we did some research with some consumers. We wanted to talk to consumers about it, and then we went out and what they told us about the product is that what they liked about it was that it was this cracker thin crust. They liked it because it had gourmet toppings. They said the pizzas are like the ones they get at a nice restaurant. They'd get this while the kids ate pepperoni. I didn't know Papa Murphy sold that type of pizza. So inside their box, they were thinking, well, their target's women looking for a healthier pizza. Okay, well, maybe it shouldn't be that. That it was 25% less fat and 35% calories, that it was a value price pizza because it had less ingredients, that these were the current ingredients, that the name of it was Delight. Now, if I challenge these things inside of our box and said, well, you can take something out, you could replace something, right? I do that work, I do some research. Based on that research, what would I come out with? I come up with a new positioning, which was basically a new target of a gourmet pizza. That's a pizza that's simple and easy to make. And so we did that. That outside-the-box thinking led to a new positioning with a new name, a new price strategy, new promotion strategy, new implications for merchandising. Everything changed from delight to gourmet delight with new products, Angus steak and spicy fennel sausage. We jacked the prices up $1 to $2, made all premium graphics. And what happened? Profits went up 18%. The stock price tripled.
Wow.
So, and all we did was add 3 ingredients, and thought outside the box on it. And, it's more of a story about positioning, which I wouldn't get into the positioning on this because they're not marketing people necessarily. It's all types of people. Or maybe I would.
I would definitely would do the thinking outside the box,
Right.
or repositioning it, or sometimes the idea is good, but it just has to be tweaked.
Right.
But
that's a great case that I do. I do that at the same time as I do this was the glue colors, and I show we changed the glue to the 3D paint pens. So.
Yeah.
So those could be cases at the end.
Definitely.
Yeah, those could be cases. Yeah.
Right.
Or just incorporated throughout. Like that
Right.
could just be a different story in that, like, thinking outside the box, like, think differently chapter.
Right.
That could work really well.
Well, what's the one that you said that you have a whole class on it? Is it the Reese's?
Yeah, I do that. We actually do the ideation in the class, and then we write concepts on it and everything else.
Could that be the case study at the end?
Well, I think the case studies, best ones would be the Bob Evans,
Okay.
and then the 3D paint pens, the Gourmet Delight. Which one did you just say?
Reese's.
Well, Reese's, you're saying that's more of an ideation though for all.
Yeah.
The
Oh, it
things
is?
we did.
Okay.
Yeah. Although, no, it could be. I was doing it around the 3D paint pens, but it could be about the growth of Elmer's. From Glued Arts and Crafts, the things we did. Oh, let me get this. This is that dermatologist.
I'm going to run to the restroom real quickly.
Hello. Yes. Hi. Good. Thanks. I'm scheduled with you next Thursday. Is that Dr. Dukas? Who the hell is that? Is that? Yeah. You know what that must be? My family physician is Dr. No, I went in there because I wanted to talk. She wasn't there, so I talked to some other guy who was there. And I told him that eventually I'm going to probably get this checked out. My kid wanted me to get checked out over at the James or over at, and even it's probably overkill, but to have an inspection there done. So I don't know why they sent that to you, but I was going to go to them in a couple of weeks, after the procedure's done, and say, look, my kids want to make sure I got other people taking a look at all these spots and everything. That's all that is. So why would they contact you? That doesn't make any sense. So. Yeah. Okay. What was the guy's name again? I don't even remember. I talked to him, but Gupta. Okay, yeah. So I would not worry about that. But I'm in there for the presentation. I'm going to get that thing out, and then all that was we talked about going down there at some point to do another checkup sometime. So. Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye. Doctor. I'm going to another place to get checked out, and they called my other doctor that I'm going to now, and they're like, I don't know. you have the right to go get a second opinion on stuff.
Oh,
anyway.
yeah, but it's kind of awkward.
Yeah, but it was awkward. It's like, well, you don't trust us. You don't think we do good work here. You know, it's like, no, I'm going to go to them. You're going to do this. Get rid of this thing, and then I'm going to go get I'm going to get everybody looking at it. And so.
Should getting a second opinion. My dad had a lot of that. He had to get a lot of those taken off.
No kidding. Yeah, pretty common, I guess. So.
Yeah, pretty bad for a while, but fine now. But yeah, it was. He had the whole big, like, they were like kind of chunks for a while. My dad had like the skin cancer stuff.
Oh,
he
he
had to
did?
get taken off like years ago now, but.
So should we stop this recording? Are we?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do that.